started.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are calling in from. Excited to be here today for this fireside chat. We are going to be discussing your why. And we did this, I think it was back in the end of May, a little bit earlier this year, and it was a really great conversation, I remember. And so was just kind of thinking a little bit about this morning, about what we might talk about. I'm hoping for some great participation from some of you guys to add to this conversation, this fireside chat. Of course, you know, we can go any direction you want to go. If there's some other path that we end up going here, let me mute everybody out here before we jump into this. Also, for all those attendees, we are going to be giving away a GoPro ticket. Again, we'll give that away next Friday. And for last Friday, October 1st, we have a winner, Blair Arns. And so I don't know if Blair's on here today. He typically always is. And so Blair, congratulations on that. Anyway, so as I was thinking about this, right, this why, and you know, just like we hear people talk about goals, right? You need to get your goals set. And, you know, it sounds so simple, you know, setting goals, your why, it sounds so simple, but it really is difficult. And I think most people really have not, you know, really zoomed in on their why they're really doing this. And, you know, we referenced the last time we discussed this about that Dean Gracioso, that book that he had, and he talked about the 7 levels or the 7 layers that you go through to really find what your real why really is. Because most people are superficial. They have a why that sounds really great, but it really isn't their why. Okay, I remember, you know, thinking back to one of my mentors in this industry, a guy by the name of Todd Smith. And, you know, this could be your why, it could be, you know, your goal, essentially, how bad do you really want it, right? And he asked the question, okay, when you think about, okay, why are you doing this business? Well, I want to get out of a job that I hate, or I want to be able to have my spouse be able to, you know, be home with the kids, or I want to get out of debt, or I want the time freedom, I want wealth. I mean, you know, whatever it is, right? And he would, you know, help you, you know, kind of establish the why. But I don't think, I mean, it's not like what Dean Gracioso does, where he drills down to that, just keep asking that question, well, why do you want that? And getting deeper and deeper and deeper, you know, and he talks about that 7 levels of asking that question, of really drilling down to come to what your real why is. But what this mentor of mine, one of my very early mentors in this industry of network marketing, is he would say, ask yourself, right, on a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you really want it? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you really want it? So think about that for a moment. Think about what you think your why is, why you might be, you know, doing this business. You know, what do you really, you know, what picture do you see? How would your life change? Why are you doing this business, right? And then this simple question, right? Just on a scale of 1 to 10, right? How bad do you really want that? How bad do you really want that? On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you really willing to do? Because if it's a 10, right? Let's say if it's a 10, you're willing to do whatever it takes, right? Whatever that why is, you've internalized it. It's very emotional to you. It really is. It has meaning to you. It's a life-changing type circumstance. But how bad do you really want it? On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you really want it when you think about it, right? Whatever that is going to improve or change or make your life better in some way, or make life better for your family, or for you know, yourself, or whatever. How bad do you really want it on the scale of 1 to 10? Just think about that for a moment. And what my mentor early on said, he said, if it's anything less than a 10, maybe we could, do work with a 9. But he said, if it's anything less than a 10, you're likely to abandon it, at the first obstacle. I mean, think about how true that really is, right? I want this, or I want this, or, I really would love this. But how bad do you really want it on that scale of 1 to 10? Well, I want this, I want to get out of my job, it's a 7, right? Well, if it's a 7, that's, you really want to, but are you really willing to do what it takes, right? I mean, are you willing to make the sacrifices necessary to make that happen, right? And I think this can be a really sobering aha moment when we think about this. What is your why? And asking yourself that question on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do I really want it? And if it's anything less than a 10, right, you're probably not willing to do whatever it takes, right? You're willing to work, you're willing to probably be focused and consistent, but you're probably not willing to burn your bridges behind you, that I will do this. I mean, there is no turning back. This is what I want. And it consumes me, right? Think about that. Think about how powerful that is. When you really want something, that your thoughts are consumed. It's always at the forefront of your thoughts. It's top of mind. I mean, you go to bed thinking about it. You dream about it. You wake up thinking about it. You daydream about it. It's constantly on your mind. And of course, we know how powerful our mind is, right? And the power of thought, because thought is conscious, right? Thought is conscious. And what does our thought do? It feeds our subconscious. And our subconscious goes to work on it. And again, we've got to be careful about what we think about, because our subconscious doesn't know right from wrong, good from bad, positive from negative. All it knows is what we think about and what we feed our subconscious, and it just goes to work on it. And so I guess this would be another aha moment, another, to be conscious of our conscious thoughts. What are we thinking about? Because what we think about, we bring about, right? What we think about, we bring about. And I think most people, are overwhelmed. They think about all of their shortcomings. They think about all of their problems. They think about all that's wrong, instead of focusing on what they want and what they would like their life to be and the picture they have for themselves. They may think about that for a glimpse of a moment, but what is the predominant thoughts? What are your predominant, overwhelming, top of mind thoughts? Is it what you really want, or is it the situation you're in, right? Is it what's happened to you right now, right? That's causing you to make excuses, causing you to consider abandoning it, right? So I guess that's kind of, I've opened this up to some thought-provoking questions to really think about that. Number one, what do you want? What do you really want? How bad do you really want it? I mean, on that scale of 1 to 10, what are you willing to do to get it? And then, does it consume your thoughts? Because if it's not consuming your thoughts, I mean, I think back early on in my career, right? I was, chosen one of 18 people. This is very early on in my career to speak. And this was a room of about 5,000 people. And I remember going over it so many times in my head. And I had pictured, this moment, right? I pictured this moment where I would have this standing ovation. And I did that. Now, what's interesting about that, I didn't talk about what I intended to talk about. I think if you've heard my story, this was in Dallas, Texas. I was one of 18 people that was qualified to get a spot to speak. And I went up there with my recipe cards, with my notes. Nobody could read them but me, because I mean, my dyslexia, my reading, my spelling, I mean, nobody could decipher what it was I was going to talk about but me. And my cards got messed up and I froze for a moment. And I just came clean. I came clean in the sense of my shame that I carried, all through my childhood and through my young adult life, of this dyslexia, this embarrassment, this humiliation, this shame that I carried. And I just came clean. And it was like, number one, just a huge burden lifted off of me, right? But what I found was it was so empowering to so many people, right? I mean, not just a standing ovation, but during that talk, you could have heard a pin drop. 5,000 people in this room, you could have heard a pin drop, right? They were so captivated by it, and it was so real. It was so real. It was not rehearsed. It was just, although I rehearsed the moment, I didn't, and I rehearsed what I was, I talked about what I was going to talk about, but I talked about something completely different. And I wonder if I would have talked about what I intended to talk about, I probably wouldn't have got that standing ovation. But here's the reason I'm telling you the story. When it happened, it was almost like deja vu. I had lived it in my mind so many times. The feeling of this standing ovation, this reaching the audience. I internalized it, visualized it, felt it so many times in my thoughts and in my dreams and in my, conscious thoughts, that when it happened, it was so surreal. It was like it was so familiar, like it had happened already, right? And I think that's when you think about your why, and you're thinking about what you really want, and you're living in your mind what you really want. You're visualizing it. You're thinking about it in its present tense, right? You're thinking about what that would feel like, how your life would be different, right? The freedom, the accomplishment, what that feeling might be. And then we back up and we think about what is it? What is, I know we're kind of diverting a little bit here into mindset, but what is your thoughts? What do you think about? I can tell you, I fall into this, even though I understand it so well, I still fall into the trap, right? Of the stinking thinking, something happens, I, get disgusted with maybe what's going on in the world, and it sends me into into a not a great positive, mindset or whatever. And just, it's not easy. No, it's not easy, but it is incredibly powerful. If you can learn, as Napoleon Hill says in his book, Think and Grow Rich, if you can learn to control your thoughts, you can control your destiny. If you learn to control your thoughts, you can control your destiny here on earth. And so, very, very simple, but very, very powerful, information. So if I struck a chord with anybody here today, something that maybe popped into your mind as we're talking, something that you're doing, if you want to share your why, if you want to share, maybe, I thought I had a why, but when you break it down of how bad do I really want it, it's not a 10. Okay. And so you need to dig deeper, so let me go ahead and open this up, and let's get some feedback. Let's get some input. Let's, if any of you have some comments, some stories, an experience, or you have that why. I mean, you have the why. It is rock solid. So
I just hit my head. Hey, John, this is Derrick Pottorff, Houston, Texas. How are you guys doing? Man, it's a fantastic day. I hope you guys are having a blast. I am, and I like this topic, how bad do you want it? Because, where your focus goes, energy flows, right? Right? And you said that with Napoleon about thoughts. So it's really, so before I get down to what I'm about to say, let me show you guys a little bit about facts, okay? So facts. 3 days without water, you can survive, right? You can Google that. That's 3 days. 8 to 21 days with.
What was
3 days?
Oh, 3 days?
Yeah, 3 days without food, you can survive without food, without water. 3 days.
3 days.
Without food, you can survive within 8 to 21 days. But guess what? If you don't have air, how long do you think you can survive? I guess you know where I'm going with this, right? Because with air, you don't have air for 3 minutes, you die. And if you don't want to succeed, how much you want to breathe, then you're not going to be successful in this thing. Doesn't matter what you go in life. And I don't know, if you're not clear about your why, if it's not clear enough, you got to get it clear. Because, you're going to be lost very consistently. Just like what, John was saying a while ago, right? If you don't practice it consistently every day, if you don't wake up, if you know you're not the only one that's doing this, man, Hannah Gallagher, John Haremza, everybody on the top leader are doing this. And guess what? They're waking up earlier than you. So if you thought that, you can just go in here and then just go in and smash it. I mean, I think, you got to get your mindset right. That's what you said, and if you want this as much as you want to breathe, just like, Eric Thomas has just said, you'll be successful. And just get your mind straight. I mean, I've been waking up 4 o'clock every day, reaching out to people. Man, at least I got one time that I reached out to 100 people and, my brain almost fried. But it's uncomfortable, I know. But guess what? I got a deeper why. I got a deeper why. And that's, I want one day. And that, I know I mentioned this the other day, one day. I'm doing this for my family, but one day I want to just have my wife to just, stay home with me so she can take care of her, her kids and not to go to, not to go to work too often, maybe just a lesson a little bit about her time. So, and that's why I'm doing it. And that's my why I'm sticking to that. And thank you so much for having me, John. And yeah, if you guys want this much, you want to breathe, doesn't matter. You'll get there. So thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. And as I think about that, we take it for granted, right? Breathing, until there's a moment where it's challenged. I was actually at a restaurant earlier this week, Wednesday. I was at a restaurant, and I don't know. I mean, it was kind of an early lunch. And one of the waiters, off in the distance, on the porch, it was like a sports bar. And he literally is ready to pass out. He's choking on something. And somebody finally, I caught this out of the corner of my eye, and then somebody ran over there and was giving him the Heimlich and couldn't get it done. Then there happened to be 2 nurses there that ran over and finally got him breathing. But what a moment of panic. Right? When you realize how important that breath is and how bad you really want it, just like if you're drowning or whatever. And so that's a great analogy. I like that. I mean, how bad do you want it? So that's good. Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in here?
Hi, John. Can I say something real quick?
Yes.
Yeah. So hello, everyone. Speaking of why, I'm very practical and realistic. Initially, because I wanted to prove to my family that I will be successful. So that means creating a career, right? And oftentimes we measure success with the ladder, how much we accomplish, the titles that we achieve with our job. So that's always my mindset in the beginning. Like, I want to have a successful career, a profession that pays really well, and it's tantamount to money. That's always my why in the beginning. I mean, for me, that's very realistic and practical. It would be it's not just ambitious, but I feel like I'm so superficial if I say, hey, I want to change the world. I want to, do this because I want to, I'm on a mission of changing the world. But to be honest, that's not my why initially, John, because even my own set of friends and even families, when you say, hey, I have this business opportunity that could potentially change you by making extra money, and with the health and wellness products that I have that could jumpstart you with your health goals. But to be honest, people will roll their eyes and they will be critical on me. So for me, it's just like in the beginning, I just want to have a stable career that provides me financial gains, right? Because we are all ordinary individuals here. We have bills to pay. Guess what? Why are we showing up to work? Is the same as having a business. Having the business is like showing up, building it every day, so we will have a profit at the end of the day. So that is initially my why, and then you move towards being with the personal growth and development that revolves around the mindset, and we become mature with our why. We change, then our why is not just being personal. I want to make a lot of money. I want to earn 100,000 a year. I want to earn 500,000 a year. You become a bigger person. You become selfless. Like, why are we sharing what we learn to a lot of people, when in regular traditional business, you keep all the wisdom, you keep all the knowledge to yourselves to benefit your personal gains, to have a personal gains, right? So that's the difference here in network marketing. But as one experience I had recently, John, was at this group workouts at the gym. I work out, I join group classes, and there are classes that are mind-boggling sometimes, and the teacher just told us, don't overthink it. Forget about the steps. How are you gonna do it? Just do it with your heart. And it reflects me. It comes back to me like, oh my God, this is sound so true with my business. Because if I overthink it, it takes me a lot of time to train, to learn about the business. Well, in the same token, when I'm applying it in the class, like, I might be there going to the class for 30 days and I will never, ever master, the steps. So I've listened to my coach, to the trainer at that class. This is just open your heart, just do it. I mean, like, you may look stupid performing your acts, but you know what? And then don't overanalyze. Like, how am I going to do this? Don't even like memorizing every steps. And those are it may seem very simple, but I've learned a lot with it. Just go with the flow, open your heart, and just follow what the teacher, what the leaders, like in our business, just follow what John is doing, what Hannah Gallagher, the leaders that showing up in every zone, just do what they're doing, because you will get the results. So back to you.
No, well, thank you for that. And I wrote down a bunch of notes, but one of the things you just said, and that again is a powerful thing, is showing up, right? I mean, just showing up. And so you got to ask yourself again, I mean, sometimes this whole is being honest with yourself. Are you showing up? Or you just, Hannah Gallagher, she used this term and I loved it. Are you working or are you wishing, right? Are you wishing your life's going to be better? Are you wishing your business is going to grow? Or are you working? Are you doing the necessary steps, right? And so you have to show up in anything in life. I mean, a matter of fact, I think it was, I don't know if it's Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, who it was, but I mean, says you've beaten 50% of the people out in this world just by showing up. Might have been higher than that. Yeah, I mean, 50 just by showing up, right? You're ahead of most of the people in the world, right? Just by showing up. And so, but another thing that you said that I think is a very, powerful thing, because this overthinking things, because we can get because a plan is important, right? Okay, I want to make $1 million. I want to make $100,000, whatever it is. And yes, you have to show up, but you do need a plan. But there's action steps that you have to do. You have to consume your thoughts with it, the mindset, but there's action steps, right? Prospecting as it relates to our business, right? Only thing going to grow our business is prospecting. We know this business is all about setting an example. And if you're not doing it, they're looking at you and they're not doing it either, right? And everybody's hoping somebody's going to do it, right? So we have things we're in control of. We're not in control of other people, right? As much as we may want to be or think we might be, but we're not, right? We're only in control of ourselves, right? It's the only thing we have control of. And so are we showing up? But this whole idea of overthinking it, I think, that's a big thing, because you can get into this analysis paralysis. You can be, and again, I heard this Nancy Carson said this, and I loved it. On stage, I think it was in Toronto, or maybe it was Vegas at one of our conferences, and she said, preparing, versus action, right? And like you have two legs, and you're preparing, and if you just prepare, you're just walking in circles, right? It takes the action, right? So sometimes we have to be okay with not being perfect. We have to be okay with not everything, being ready. We have to be okay, because if we wait for everything to be perfect, just like wrapshell's analogy of working out, right? I mean, if she, is worried that she doesn't have the step down or the exercise down, and what are other people going to think, it will prevent her from doing it at all and ever learning it, right? So, it's better to get it going than get it right, because if you get it going, you'll eventually get it right, through practice and through repetition. And so a lot of little subtleties. Another word I wrote down here, is decision. I mean, at some point we have to draw a line in the sand and just say, I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. The power in making that decision and not allowing yourself to second guess it or go back on it, because a decision should be the death of all other options, right? Once you make that decision, there's a great personal development person. His name's Lou Tice. He's a football coach, and he has this set of audios called Mastering the Attitude of Achievement. And one of the things he talked about is decide. Actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't him. It was John Addison, the former, co-CEO of Primerica. And he said, you have to decide. And he says, when you make a decision, it should be the death of all other options, right? I am going to do this. So think about that when you think about your why, right? We're bringing it back to the why, how bad you really want it, scale of 1 to 10, and making that decision that you will do it. And I can tell you guys, when you make that decision of there is that retreat is not an option, right? Failure is not an option. It is a definite, mindset. It's a definite purpose. I will do it, and I will not retreat. I will do this. I will figure this out, because others have done it. I can do it too. Right. So, but again, coming back to, what are you willing to do and how bad do you want it? So let's see if anybody else wants to chime in here.
I'll chime in, John. My why is so huge that it's overwhelmed me. It's overwhelmed my prospectors. It's overwhelmed my thinking. It's taken, you want your why to be big, but you don't want it to be so big you don't know what to do with it. You don't know how to express your why to people, because I want my husband home. He has been home in months. I don't want to be emotional. I should be doing everything. I should be at that 10. I should be knocking on doors. I should be making those phone calls. I should be out there, not here, and I'm not. I'm at a 9, and I'm stuck at a 9 because I've overwhelmed myself with my why. And the only thing that I've realized is I've got to stick to it. I said, yes, I see the potential. I know it's there. And the key is to stay connected, even if you're not ready, even if you think you're at a 10 and you're stuck at a 9 and you're not ready to go out there. You still have to stay committed. You have to stay consistent. You have to keep trying. It's all about trial and error with your why at the same time as your mindset. So I'm having to control my own thinking and understand what's more important. And as much as I need to be at a 10 right now, there's so much going in my life right now. It's hard to analyze it all and try to put it all together and know how to do it all. So the only thing that I've been doing is just staying consistent. I'm here every Monday and Friday with John. That's the best I can do for myself, my self-growth, in the last 6 months being with this company has been amazing. I have this issue. A lot of people you've already know, I've already told this to, but I have this self-doubt within myself that I can't do something unless I know how to do it first. And so that's why I've been behind scenes with this company, learning how to do everything, learning about every little thing, because I think that's what I need to do in order to succeed. But you don't need to do that. You know, my theory of more is best is totally wrong. You know, it might be best for my weird mindset, but it's not best for prospecting or trying to grow a business. You know, the less is more is really more. So I'm trying to adapt myself to that. But the why is something that you have to be careful with, because you don't want it to consume you, to make you think that you can't do it. But keep yourself at that 9 and stay consistent and keep working through your self-growth and understanding how you want to come and express that why, so you can grow your business the way that you should. Because I always think I can't do something, but then when I do it, I succeed. So I just need to stop self-doubting myself and just go out there and express my why and do it properly and not so overwhelming, and I'll succeed. So that's my points to you guys. Don't let your why overwhelm you. And if it does, just stay at a 9 and keep working towards that 10.
Well, thank you, Robin. You know, I wrote down several things here as you're talking. You know, one thing that popped into my mind is, you know, how do you eat an elephant, right? You know, one bite at a time. Is, you know, you can, I mean, because there's, you know, what you described as your why, you know, without question can be done. I mean, without question. I mean, it's being done all over, right? So, you know, making enough money, making this business significant enough to where, you know, he can come home is a very realistic why. It can be done, right? And so you need to know that, and you can do it. But you're paralyzing yourself by overthinking it, like wrapshell referred to it. You're overthinking it. You're thinking of the long game, you know, which, yes, you want to think of that, the end game, right? But if you just bite a little bit off every day, I mean, seriously, if you just said, I don't care, today and every day, I am going to do a little bit that's going to bring me closer to that why. You know, it reminds me of a story. I have it in my book, and it's about this traveler, and he talks to a wise man. He was on his way to Mount Olympus, and he says, you know, hey, how do I get to Mount Olympus? And he said, just make sure every step you take is in that direction, right? And so, so I think that if you really look at one of the most important action items to, you know, realize your why, it's prospecting in our business, right? And so, I mean, we have your warm market, you have your common market, people that you have, you know, associations with, and you have the cold market. And I mean, if you made a commitment to yourself that every day, right, 5 days a week, we're going to give you the weekends off, okay, just to recoup, but every day you prospect one person, and it can be as easy and as reaching out to somebody on Facebook, you know, sending that friend request and making that message. But if you actually, you know, break this down into, not overwhelm, but you break it down into, okay, you know, I need to know if the only way I'm going to accomplish this goal is I need people, I need to build an organization. And so I'm not going to let any day go by without me putting another person in the pipeline. And you're going to all of a sudden wake up one day, you're going to have this massive pipeline, all of a sudden people are going to start popping out of. And the sense of accomplishment you get when you do that, when you make that little step. And so I'm just saying, you know, I mean, you may feel overwhelmed, but let's just break it down to one thing that you know you can do, right? Even knowing it might be uncomfortable, even knowing you might procrastinate. And one of the things they always say is, you know, whatever, you know, prioritize and make it a priority. I'm going to prospect this one person every day, whether it's somebody I know, whether it's somebody, you know, through some group, or whether it's, you know, through complete cold market, but I'm not going to let the day. You can do that. You really can do that. I mean, if you don't overwhelm yourself, just, I'm going to do this. I'm going to every day, you know, I'm going to do it. And all of a sudden you're going to have a full pipeline, and all of a sudden people are going to start coming, you know, joining. and you're going to get this feeling of confidence, and this is really happening and really working. So the other thing I just wrote down here, you said self-doubt. And I mean, honestly, I think everybody has self-doubt. I mean, there's very few people in this world that are so self-assured they don't have self-doubt. We are our own biggest enemies, right? And so it's a battle that we have to constantly, and what is self-doubt? It's you hear me talk about that nightshade, that deadly poison, that that little person sitting on our shoulder constantly telling us we can't do something, right? And how do we overcome it? We got to pour the positive stuff in. We got to do like what you're doing here, being on the Fireside Chat, doing a little bit every morning or every day to make sure that mindset is in place. But even if you write down on a piece of paper, okay, and review it every single morning, so first thing you get up and when you go to bed at night, I will talk to someone today. I will prospect someone today. Okay, one person, okay, 5 days a week. Matter of fact, there's a formula, and let me see if I can remember it. Is because what does it take? 10 minutes to talk to somebody, through Facebook or whatever, maybe 10 minutes. But if you talk to one person a day, 5 days a week, give you the weekends off to rest up. Okay, you will have talked to 20 people in a month. And, out of those 20 people, if just one person joined, and that one person that joined did the exact same thing, talked to one person a day, and only had one person join, they duplicate that process. At the end of a year, you would have 4,000 people. That's unbelievable. That's the compounding effect of numbers. Think about that. One a day, 5 days a week, 20 people in a month, only one joins, but that one person that joins is willing to do that same thing, talk to one person a day and find one a month that does it. It multiplies into 4,000 people at the end of 12 months. And if you take 4,000 people at an average of $100 a month in orders, that's $400,000 in volume, monthly volume. You see where I'm going here? It can be and even if you're, anyway, that's breaking it down. So, I mean, every time you talk to one person, you do that consistently for 30 days, even taking the weekends off, and you duplicate that process out. Think of where you could be, on the 8th of October next year. So, anyone else want to jump in here?
I guess.
Hey, John, it's Mike in Houston. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, we're on a road trip to take my daughter to it's her birthday weekend, but got to stay plugged in and loving the community and all the learning and everybody's deeper why. And I guess we can share ours. At first, like you said, there's a superficial why. I want to become this rank or that rank, save the whales and do all that, help people. But when you really grow into that personal development and you get more and more of that, that becomes not so much the issue. It becomes more genuine and you get to dig deeper, right? So with me, not too many people are familiar with this, but I'm a product of a divorce. I'm the only child, and most kids are only, the only child would blame themselves. And I don't think I ever did that. I grew up with cousins. I was taken in by loving cousins and uncle and aunts that treated me like their own. But most only children would feel like it's my fault, I did something. And it's really not their fault because maybe their parents didn't know that there's an option that they can work together. Now, my parents are educated as much as they could have, but they didn't have all the options that me and my wife now have, that we can work together so we don't have to quit on making it work for the kids, and I grew up just fine, even with the divorce. The silver lining is I grew up with a bigger family. I have step siblings, I have half siblings. So, happy ending there. But the moral of the story is not everybody's going to have that happy ending. And our deeper why is it became super, at first superficial, like let's get to this rank, help people learn the business to do, and then became deeper to where, we could really change the way we influence children and what matters and how not to quit on life when things get hard and you think there's no options to make it work. And it's the deeper why could be someone else that you could be passing on the hope to someone else that needs this, even if they have the money and they don't have that mentality and abundance mindset that they can grow together instead of grow separately. So our deeper why is more on how can we make people understand that there's hope outside of that, that at the end of the rope, there's more, right? So my parents didn't see that, but it's okay. Now we could maybe change that the way our kids think and pass on that hope to someone else that may need it more than us. So that's our deeper why. So I hope that helps. Thanks, John.
Mike, that was great. That was great. Love the glasses. So anyway, guys, before we go ahead and we close out here, anybody else want to jump in and say something before we close out?
May I talk?
Yes.
Hi, John. Hi, everyone. This is Anisang Buchi Chantali from Arkansas. That's why I would like to be a messenger to express Valentine's to around the world and helping the people who got the illness and the problem who have a struggle with the financial problem, and they can do helping their family, and they can helping their own health issue. And I also want to get to my goal, my dream, to be a financial freedom and to be a role model for my family and need my health issue to be well and healthy. That's my why I do this. I am 65 years old.
Wow, that's great. You know, that what you just said there too about being that role model. I mean, that is such of a huge thing, right? Being that role model to others and to your family. That's such a huge thing. But we can feel your why and the mission that you are to help others. That's fantastic, and consistency and you know, and you're doing it. So fantastic. Thank you.
John, she's a diamond. I just let you know she's a diamond from organization.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So, you know, guys, again, we'll just kind of review here real quick and then we'll close out. But so digging down to really what it is that you want. We had a few people come on here that got emotional. You can feel how bad they want something, right? And, you know, in Robin's case, she's overwhelmed and she's going to, you know, just take a little bite at a time, right, Robin? You're going to take a little bite at a time to get to that mission, that goal, that why, keeping it at the forefront of your thoughts, feeding that subconscious mind, staying plugged in. I mean, there's a handful of things. As a matter of fact, Jim Rohn talks about this. He says most everything in life can be broke down to a half a dozen things, right? I mean, there's a million things we could do, but there's about a half a dozen that really make a difference, right? And we get overwhelmed, we overanalyze, we overthink, and it paralyzes us and it slows down. And then what does that lead to? Self-doubt. That leads to self-doubt. Can I really do this? Is this really ever going to happen? But if we just stay focused on the little things, just moving it, you know, how do I get to Mount Olympus? Just make sure every step you take is in that direction. And you know what? You might sit down, you might sidestep, but you try not to backstep, right? Although there are going to be things in life that will make us backstep. But I think another just important thing to always remember, because we can sit and we can wish things are different. We can sit and get overwhelmed with what's going on in the world, or we can get overwhelmed with things that are out of our control. And you know, the only thing we can really control, not really, it's the only thing we can control, is what we do about it, right? And the only thing we can control is our own personal actions of what we do about anything, right? And so, you know, complaining doesn't typically get the job done. Matter of fact, you typically drag people down. You know, and again, I'm talking about all this stuff because I've experienced it. I've fallen into the trap, I've fallen in these traps, right? And then just try to be conscious and force yourself into, getting the proper mindset and getting refocused and re-emotionalize, what that why is. So guys, with that, thank you very much. Thank you for all of you that contributed. I appreciate it very much. And we'll talk to you on Monday and again next Friday. And so we took a screenshot of everyone on here today, and we'll be giving another ticket out next week. And Blair Arns, I know you came on a little late, but you were the winner this from last Friday that got the ticket here today. So I don't know if you knew that. Yeah. So, okay, guys, have a good rest of your day and weekend.
Bye.